For homicide detectives, the clock starts ticking.
I'm back. This episode is brought to you by my homegirl because she wanted me to tell y'all about the story. So I'm going to tell y'all about this story. Now, I know if you have a story you want me to tell, it's in my DMs, leave it in the comments, send me an email, all of the above. So this particular episode that we're going to be discussing a new series on Netflix. So they have a new series out of the worst. I have the worst neighbor ever, the worst ex ever, the worst roommate ever. This one that we're talking about was on the worst neighbor ever. These were the worst neighbors ever. The neighbors in play were Shauna and Dave. And then you had Francis. So Shauna and Dave, they're an interracial couple. Shauna had one child before marriage, and then they had one child together. Francis, a Caucasian lady, she was friends with Shauna's family. So she was a friend of the family since she was about 15 years old. She had a troubled upbringing. So she lived with Shauna's grandmother, I want to say since she was about 15, 16 years old, somewhere around there. So, she knew Shauna for a very long time. Francis got married, moved away, came back. Now, the neighborhood that they were living in was all Shauna's family. Her granddaddy lived next door, the auntie lived down the street, the cousin lived down the block. The whole block was Shauna's family. So why Francis stayed here when things got tough, I don't know, but that's what she did. So anyway, spoiler alert, I'm going to tell you what happened. So if you don't want that, don't watch this episode until you watch Netflix and, see that. Then you can come back and rewatch this because I'm going to tell it because that's what I'm doing. When Francis came back, she bought the property right across the street from Shauna's house. Her property wasn't move-in ready yet. It still had some things that needed to be done. They still had to tear some stuff down, clean up some stuff, do whatever they had to do. So it wasn't ready. So Shauna said, well, come stay with me. So Francis said, okay. She came over there and stayed with her. And everything was great for a while. The girls were going out to eat. The girls were going dancing together. All the things, us girlies like to do. They did all the things. And it was great because Dave was at work and her kids were grown. They are gone. So it's just Shauna. And she was out of work on disability. So she's like, hell, I can enjoy the company. So, they had a great time until they didn't. Because, people's true colors wear off after but so long. The honeymoon phase wore off and that was over with. So after a while, Francis started getting snappy and just being rude and whatnot, telling Shauna when she can clean her own house, unplugging the vacuum and whatnot, just weird stuff. Lady, if you want something to say, you need to be in your own shit because this is mine and I'm going to do what I want to do because it's mine. But Shauna, she just, keeping peace. I guess she just went along with it. I don't know. So one day, Francis decided to sit them down and show them a video of her protesting on YouTube. She thought it was cool. She was doing a prejudice protest. Mind you, Shauna's husband is black. She's doing an anti-Muslim or whatnot, anti-whatever protest. And, it offended Shauna and her husband. They're just like, well, what is up with this lady? Why does she think this is something to do? Let alone to show us. But they still, bit the bullet. We're trying to just go along with things until her place got ready. But I'm going to tell you where she fucked up. See, Shauna had a grandbaby. And that little grandbaby came over to play. 3 years old, little boy. And people don't play about their kids. People definitely don't play about their grandkids. I don't have any yet, but people don't play about their grandkids. So the little boy, he had a bunch of energy. He's running around, riding his bicycle around the house, out of care in the world. Francis brings her little ass out there. She's yelling at this little boy. That was her last straw. She had to go. Shauna and Dave kicked her ass out. They said, no, you can cross the line. You got to go. So she had to go. This was going to be ready that March. They kicked her ass out in January. They said, we can't take it no more. So anyway, fine. She got her stuff. She got the fuck on. Her place got ready. She moved in March. When she moved in, Child, that's when all hell broke loose. So I told you Shauna was out on disability, right? Shauna had a friend who owned a tanning salon, and she hung out up there all the time. Getting a tan and whatnot, and just helping out around there and just hanging out. It's her friend's business. She's out on disability. She don't have anything to do. She's just finding something to do with her spare time. Frances decides to come up there and cause a scene in front of whoever is there and telling her, oh, I'm going to get you shut down, whatnot. Aren't you supposed to be on disability? You're up here working. Even put all of this shit on Facebook. She crossed the line again. Later on that day, Shauna had had enough. So she went across the street, knocked on Frances' door. Excuse me, what you're not going to do is come over here to my friend's business and start the shit. We're not going to have this. I didn't come for you. Don't send for me, basically. My words, not hers, but you get the picture. So one thing led to another. They got into a full-on fight. Why did they do that? Because you know how Karens get. Child, Frances got to calling the police for everything. She said that Shauna came over to her house, threatening her and beating her, and then Shauna's husband came up and held her down while she was beating on her and beat her with some type of stick, and she's calling the police, wanted her arrested. She has to go to jail for at least 18 months. She kept harboring on that. Now, the police come over. Of course, they don't see any bodily injuries that result in anything that she was referring to, but they got to hear her out. Shauna ended up going to jail, got out of jail. When Shauna gets out of jail, Frances is up here with the phone, videotaping her in the driveway, kept calling the police, trying to get her locked up. She has to go to jail for at least 18 months. Really just harassing this lady. Child, all the things. So anyway, Frances ended up getting a protection order put in place where Shauna couldn't be within 500 feet of her. So that means she can't mow her own lawn. She can't check her mail, anything. She can't go out of the front yard because this lady lives directly across the street. So how was that going to happen? But anyway, so now Frances really started messing with her. She's coming outside, no clothes on, genitals out in front of the kid. Shauna got her grandkids outside. She got her grandchild and her little niece. They playing outside, all innocent little bitty things. And she's coming outside just to stir up some shit, trying to tempt her. Child, she even went so far to call Shauna's second eldest, the one that's biracial, the N-word. You already know. You know them fighting words. Fighting words. She was just trying to provoke her because she wanted to send her to jail. So when Shauna did get out of jail, Frances asked to cross the street with a phone like this, like a damn Karen, recording her. You need to go back to jail. And calling the sheriff. She needs to go to jail for at least 18 months. She needs to go to jail for at least 18 months. She assaulted me. Blase, skip. They didn't do it because they had already made their decision. She just had to accept the fact that she doesn't run anything. They made their decision, and that wasn't good enough for her. So now she just kept calling the police. Any little thing. Talking about what time they're junking or setting their trash out. Just all types of stupid stuff. Call the police on them for every little thing. Just trying to, really provoke them, irritate them. But child, that didn't work. The charges that did come when she pressed them from the fight, it ended up that Shauna ended up getting anger management classes and probation for a year, just as a settlement, and she took it, went along with it. Okay, fine. But that wasn't good enough for Frances. She wasn't having it. She wanted her to go to jail. Start telling the police, I feel like this county isn't going to protect me, whatnot. I have to take matters into my own hands. And child, that's exactly what she did. Took matters into her own hands. Literally. With all of her antics, I told you she was doing, walking around, no clothes on. That's how she would go mow the lawn and whatnot. Dave said, enough of this. We're going to put cameras around this house. So that way they can see what this lady is really doing. They can see what's really going on. I understand the reasoning, but looking back, it's like, oh, man. The day he was out there putting those cameras up around the house, honey, I guess that ticked her top. Because that's when she felt like she had enough, and she marched over there bammed on them people's door, shot Shauna smooth in the face, went in through her nose, came out through her ear, and walked in through the house and shot Dave. He was holding up his hands like this. Wait, let's talk about this. Said shot him through his ring finger and it pierced his heart, or straight through his heart. Dave didn't make it. Shauna made it. Shauna made it to tell the story. And, needless to say, they put her ass under the jail too, because that's where the fuck she belongs. It got me to thinking. I feel like we need to have a mental health check-in where, just like a physical, there's a mental health check-in. You need to be evaluated annually just to see how likely you are to commit harm to yourself or someone else. I believe there should be an annual, biannual, semi-annual. There should be a check-in, just like a physical. It needs to be a mental health check-in because people are crazy. Literally. Why couldn't you just drink some water and chill out? You don't like this lady? Her whole family lives around you, lady. Move. That wasn't good enough for her. Let me see if I forgot to tell y'all something. Oh, Shauna's eldest daughter, after Frances came outside with no clothes on, Shauna's eldest daughter stopped the baby from coming over there, the grandson. She said, "No, I don't trust this lady." That caused her and Shauna not to speak for a while. But you know what? She was on to something. Parents never feel any type of way when it comes to protecting your own. No matter how crazy it may sound to others, it may sound like you're overreacting or being irrational. When it comes to protecting your child, protect them. As long as it's not harming anybody else, protect those babies because they can't protect themselves. That's what we're here for. And look, the lady went berserk. And only God knows what would have happened if that little boy was there. Thank God for a mother's love. Rest in peace to Dave. That's sad. Frances needs to sit down somewhere and drink some water.